This channel is not for children, neither is it for the weak of heart or mind. Viewer discretion is advised.
This video is for those who may be new to the channel. This is an introduction to Sinisterism. And you may ask, what the hell is a Sinisterist? Well, if you're on the left-hand path, then you very well could be one. First, we'll go over some basics. The word sinister comes from the Latin word sinistra, meaning left. Historically, the left side and left-handedness were seen as negative in most cultures. For example, if a bird flew over your left shoulder, it was a bad omen. The left side was considered evil or unlucky, thus giving us the modern English word sinister. Sinisterism, though, is a little used word, but when it is, it's most likely by the religious right, when sometimes referring to the secular political left. But in the realms of the esoteric, Sinisterism or Sinisterist refers to someone who walks the left-hand path but doesn't quite fit within an established paradigm. You may not identify as a Luciferian, for example, or appreciate the direction contemporary Satanism is going. More on that later. But you're still compelled by what's down the path. You have a hunger, so you take a little of this, a little of that from different disciplines, Satanic, Luciferian, Hermetic, Dark Pagan, Hindu, and so on. You ask the big questions. You're interested in the big picture, the philosophy, the psychology, the history, and mystery. That is the left-hand path. Does this sound like you? Now, there's one really good reason why I call myself a Sinisterist and not, let's say, a Satanist. Here on YouTube, type in Satanism. You know what you'll get, don't you? The first thing you'll see is the Satanic Temple, a group that calls themselves satanic but are not on the left-hand path. And being on the left-hand path is the most important facet of being a Satanist. Look, I don't drink vodka because I like the way it tastes. Imagine alcohol-free vodka. There would be no reason for it. And here's a question I keep seeing. Is the Satanic Temple truly satanic? Are they Satanists? And my answer to that is yes. They might not be Satanists as codified by LeRoy, but they're still satanic. And the reason for this is they say they've adopted the old 19th century Parisian Satanism that predates LeRoy. You see, LeRoy didn't come up with the word Satanism or satanic. Just look up Parisian Satanism. Okay, so TST might be satanic, but I know what the left-hand path is, and what they're doing has little in common with the sinister path. And this group has surpassed the Church of Satan as the most popular and influential satanic organization. How the fuck did that happen? The COS was way ahead of everyone else. How did they stumble and fall? One reason is they practically have ignored the online world. And it was their philosophy, COS philosophy, that introduced me to the left-hand path. Which brings us to my personal story. Now, I've been dabbling in the occult since I was a teen, way back in the mid-1970s. And at the beginning, I had the blind faith of the average occultic fundamentalist. But truth be told, I've always had that doubt in the back of my mind I couldn't shake. I kept wondering, have I substituted one form of blind faith, Christianity, for another? And also, I wanted to find what really worked. I wanted to discover the real magic in the occult, not that which I wanted to be true. That right there. Believing in something because you want it to be true, not because it makes sense. So, along with my personal psychological and philosophical maturation, there also came an awareness of my autonomy. Thus, the right-hand path New Age bullshit with its warm and fuzzy practices had no appeal to me. The idea of holding hands with people singing songs and dancing around in a fucking circle sounded like a fucking nightmare. Now, if it turned into an orgy, that might be a different story. Anyway, eventually in about 1979, I opened the Satanic Bible. I've never joined the Church of Satan, but I, for the longest time, considered myself a LeRoy Satanist. But I don't anymore. Don't get me wrong, I still have a whole lot of respect for many of those who follow the tenets laid down by LeRoy. I'd say more than half the members of the sect would qualify as such. But for me, with my frustration with the two most influential satanic organizations and being an individual with an obsessive nature, I need more than what modern Satanism has to offer. Over the years, I've studied Druidism, not that bullshit modern Druidism, but Celtic Druidism out of history, followed by Odinist philosophy, the Greco-Roman dark gods, and even Hindu Agora, while at the same time reading the works of philosophers and psychologists whose writings corresponded with the path. Because I think that's important, the why behind the path. Why are we on it? Me, personally, I'm on a search, not only into history, but also into the depths of the mind to find the foundation, that deep psychological undercurrent that transcends it all. So even though I still respect Satanism as codified by LeRoy, it's not enough for me. I have a hunger that a single paradigm or discipline cannot satiate. I need something that better conveys my general interest in the sinister path. I want to delve into its arcane rituals, philosophy, archetypal psychology, into the ancient history to find the source of it all. And I brought this up before, like for instance, who was the first individual to step on the left-hand path? That deviant fucker who said, I don't want to worship that horn god etched on the cave wall. I want to be him. So I needed a name that better suits this wide open interest. This is why the title Sinisterism works for me. So that's it. That's where I'm coming from. My motivation to stay on the path isn't some simplistic, rebellious stance against society or mommy and daddy or even Christianity. But for far too many, that's their motivation. That should only be if you're still at the starting line, though. Society, your parents, the Christians, you have to let that shit go if you're gonna progress down the path. And Christians, I don't get why people are so pissed off at them. Christians to me are like the morbidly obese. I don't care what you eat or how much, just don't try to force me to consume the crap you're consuming. I see Sinisterism to be a more mature perspective to being on the path. And if you're like me, curious and have an obsessive nature, a single discipline isn't enough. And I've said it before, the idea of sinisterism is still new, and if you adopt this term now, someday you can brag about being one of the first, one of the original Sinisterists.